What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Beamer Barn. Today we're going to be looking at my 2006 E91 325 Xi wagon. We have to do a full inspection on it and get it in the garage. Now, it's been sitting in my front driveway for the past few days now with an extension cord leading to it because we're trying to get it charged so that we can drive it into the garage. Unfortunately, this car appears to have a bad alternator, so the longer that we drive it, the more that it's gonna discharge that battery. But I think we'll have enough to get it into the garage, and then we'll be able to put this car on the lift and inspect the underside and decide just what happened to the motor and transmission that got it to this point where it just doesn't even want to drive. So let's go ahead and see if we can get this thing moving, and then we'll do a full inspection. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I did test this earlier just to make sure that the car had enough juice to get started, and it did. So all we're gonna do is disconnect that, leave the tender in the trunk because I'm sure we're gonna have to reconnect it very soon here. The battery is already hooked up, although I didn't tighten down the battery terminal, so hopefully it stays hooked up. Let's go ahead and give it a start and then see if we can get it in the driveway.
Friendly work environment and a guaranteed day off each week.
Radio works. Looks like you really can't see it that well though. She starts, that's good. Traction control light, put it in reverse. Looks like no check engine light, which is funny because it should at least know that we don't have an alternator hooked up. Put it in reverse. I'm trying to be very quick about this here so that we do not lose charge. And at the same time, I'm trying not to run over anything. Looks like we are in the garage, ladies and gentlemen. I'll put it right there. It's still running, which is really surprising. Let's see if we can check out this engine. Oh, well, it wants to fall here. So let me put something up. All right, we got our little hood prop set up. Car is definitely starting to struggle some, but I don't see a lot of smoke going down. Actually running pretty good. And looks like no check engine light still. Let's go ahead and kill the motor. And that way we're not using up all that juice, and see if we can give it a scan and see exactly what might be wrong, because it might have thrown a fault, but not like a check engine light yet. We would have to maybe start the car again. But yeah, interesting so far. There is some smoke coming up though. I will say that. There is some smoke coming from this area, but if the valve cover is leaking, then of course leaking onto the headers is going to make a lot of smoke there. But yeah, let's see if we can get the quick jacks up, scan the car, and give it a look-see underneath. Alright, so with the engine off, we're going to take a quick look under here. Looks like the hose has been sort of repaired before, the Mickey Mouse hose right there. Doesn't look like it's got the Victor Rhines metal adapter though. It looks like another plastic one. Looks like some oil buildup here, probably from the power steering. Kind of hard to tell because it's so dirty with dirt, literally, that, you know, the oil sticks to everything. You can kind of see down there on the block too that there's definitely some oil down there too. Over on this side though is where I think we were getting some smoke and oil buildup. And looking at the valve cover, it looks like it could have been the valve cover gasket itself leaking. I wonder what would happen if we took this engine cover off right here. Definitely a lot of oil down there around the oil pan and such. So I'm not excited to get the under tray off because I feel like we're gonna find a lot of mess down there. But at least the belt is still on, so we know that it's not just a belt failure causing the alternator to act up. But yeah, now let's take a quick look underneath the car. Well, looking under here, folks, if I was a betting man, I would say that this oil pan has probably never been pulled out of the car before to change that gasket, because look at just how much oil is caked up over everything, front to back on the car, the subframe, the frame, all the hoses, you know, it's just soaked down here. And that's the problem with these X-Drive cars, is that it's just so much more time to take this oil pan off to service it, because you have to get the differential out of the equation, and that means removing those pesky front axles. And at that point, you might as well just service everything, replace axles, do the seals like we did on the E46 all-wheel drive wagon. But when you get to that point, it's gonna be 16 to 20 hours of work or more, and not everyone can afford that. So if you can build these cars at home yourself, you know, you might want to take that endeavor, but still, you know, you're gonna have to be patient and take your time. So here we have the lower support arm for the CV axles. You can see it's just coated in oil. Everything is here. And actually, one thing that I did find was something that wasn't oil. Let me see if I can find it for you. I don't know if you guys can see that right there, but that is green coolant. And the hose that it's on actually leads upward to the expansion tank. So I think the expansion tank might be bad. It might have a crack in it, something like that. The previous owner did say that the car was mixing oil and coolant in the expansion tank. That could easily be from a oil filter stand gasket that failed, which again, judging by the engine and its lack of service, I wouldn't stretch to say that it could be the oil filter stand gasket. Now here we have the rear transmission cross member and the transfer case right there. You can see the yellow tag on it. And then of course the transmission is in front of there. And you'll see that the cross member is actually asymmetrical. So it starts further forward on this side and ends a little further backward on this side. So it kind of stretches in a diagonal position. So it should be interesting to see what we can fabricate to get a regular rear wheel drive transmission to fit in here. And that's going to be the big challenge of this build is getting that to fit. Oh, I'm just looking at something now. Actually, look at this. Not sure what that is, but it looks like something was run over on this side. It kind of just tore all the way up this side of the car. Doesn't look like we have that issue over on this side. And these are just plastic under tray panels, so it's not a big deal. They can be replaced pretty easily, but it's just interesting to think, like, what could that have been that somebody ran over that caused all that damage? Now the rear subframe back here is exactly the same as the rear wheel drive cars, so we don't have to do a lot of modifications. Although, for sake of time, to get the 335 axles and the 335 diff, I'll probably end up just completely swapping the subframes around. But what's interesting is this support beam right here. I've never seen it before, but also this is going to be my first time, I believe, working on a 335 XI. So this could either be a wagon thing or an X-Drive thing. Someone has to let me know. This support bar goes to like the front of the fuel tanks and it stretches across that beam here. And we definitely need to remove this to get the exhaust out, to get the subframe out. But someone comment down below, is this a structural support for the wagons or is this a structural support for the X-Drive cars? I'm probably going to say it's for the wagons, but someone go ahead and confirm for me. The axles are definitely smaller on the 325, so those are going to get replaced, like I said, with everything else. I'm not sure if the rear brakes are exactly the same between the 335i and like the non 335i's, I guess. But yeah, all that is going to get swapped. And back here, we'll see the exhaust. Should be interesting to find a solution to this. I saw one of you guys mention it'd be cool to keep the factory rear muffler. I'm actually thinking about it. It might be fun. It would be so quiet because of how big this thing is. But you know, guys, it would be pretty difficult to get the true 335 twin tip look because we have this battery box, this whole tray situation. I'm not sure if this is removable or not. It does look like it's made out of plastic. So I wonder, the DMTL system though, that is right there. I wonder if there's enough room for us to kind of create like in this gap right here. I think I saw some 328 guys do it, create a twin look by getting one exhaust tip here and then having the other one route behind the diffuser and then a 90-degree that would go out. But you guys tell me in the description below, what would you prefer, twin 335 look or sleeper wagon style with just a side exit on this side with twin pipes? Also possibly single exit, one big old 4-inch big boy. You guys tell me what you think. Well, we're done looking at the underside and I've saved the most important part for last. Let's go ahead and hook up our computer and give this thing a scan and see exactly what kind of fault codes it has. Now, before I turn on the car and start scanning it, something I find funny, I don't know how this happened, but it looks like the upper screen was damaged for the instrument cluster. Let me turn on this, let me turn it on here, and you'll see that just literally nothing lights up there. And if I zoom in, I'm not sure what that like damage is. Look at the screen itself. It looks like there's like black tape over it. Isn't that funny, guys? I'm pretty sure someone, oh no. There's no way. I wonder if someone taped over the warning messages there and removed the bulb here. Oh no. That would make sense because when we cycle the ignition, we don't get any of those bulbs. The DSC traction control light, those things don't, well, the DTC light comes on. All right, well now I am super curious as to what codes this thing has because it probably has a ton of them. All right, let's go ahead and read this thing out with ISTA. So that'll give us a nice English translation of all the fault codes. And we'll see that it should read out the VIN. Sweet. So yeah, I am super suspicious that the car has some tape over all the lights there. And I'm sure that when we read out all the faults, it's going to give us a long, long list. There you go, that's all finished up. It looks like it's almost even, the number of modules with faults versus the ones without them. Let's go ahead and display that fault memory. We'll see a mixture control, 1 and 2. Oh my god. Exhaust Vanos mechanism, awesome. Air mass system, great. Alternator right here. Radiator blind activation. Oh my god, a clutch fault for the transmission. It's definitely not a good thing when you've got transmission faults. That's when you know it's probably too far gone. VTG mechanism faulty, oil wear. VTG, I think, what is that? Oh, the transfer case? I think that's the transfer case. Steering angle sensor is bad. The DSC is telling us that the transfer case is bad. The FRM is bad. Fuel level sensors, holy cow. Road speed signal and central locking relay. Just about everything on this car has a fault, and that's just so surprising because we don't have any lights here on the dashboard. Oh man, I wonder who did that. All these lights, and you just need to fix them. Don't just cover them up. Guys, definitely do not do this at home. Don't cover up your check engine light with duct tape. Don't go taking LEDs out of your instrument cluster so that it doesn't look like the faults are on, because I don't know what to say. This is definitely one of those cars that was just driven into the ground. Like, someone tried to get as much of their money's worth out of the car and just drove it, and when a light would come on, oh, does the car still run? Perfect, let's keep going. And if you ignore all these things, your car will eventually end up like this, and then you will be selling it to me for under $1,000. If you want to sell me a car for $1,000, definitely hit up my DMs. But otherwise, go ahead and maintain your car so they don't end up like this, and please don't do weird scumbag work like that, covering up the check engine light. That's just not what it is, guys. It's not what it is. Look, you can even see the tear line of the duct tape. What a piece of junk. So I think we're gonna end the video off there, guys. Definitely this car has a ton more surprises than I originally thought. You know, I didn't think much of it getting it on the trailer or you know, turning the key on a couple times, seeing that it didn't have all the lights on the cluster, but I figured, you know, it was something like voltage related. But now scanning the car and seeing how many freaking fault codes it has, it really scares you. You know, this car was fully neglected. And is it worth it to fix all this stuff just to be left with a 325 XI wagon? I'm not so sure. But by getting rid of the engine, the transmission, the transfer case, all these things that are causing issues, we're going to get rid of all those old things and put in a fresh 335 drivetrain, and that'll make it much simpler and solve all these obnoxious problems. Also, I think we're going to go ahead and use the 335i instrument cluster, as well as just every module that we can, almost, because I feel like it's going to be a more reliable car that way. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed us doing this little inspection of the 325xi. I'm super eager to get into the build very soon here. I'm actually waiting on a couple of parts to arrive for the 335i before, you know, we get it swapped into the wagon, because I want to get it running 100% before we start moving things around. So stay tuned for more episodes on these cars, as well as more awesome BMW content. I appreciate all the love and support in the comments down below, so be sure to drop one for me, as well as a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new and you haven't yet. As always, I hope everyone has an awesome day, and we'll see you next time.